Hello, welcome back to my video series where I've been making a game engine using DirectX 11 and C++. And I think I'll just run through some of the new features I've implemented. So I did put out a short video showing my various failures while implementing shadows, just some rather dramatic music. But I'll just go from the last video where I was actually talking about the game itself. So yeah, I mentioned at the end of the last one that I was keen to get shadows introduced, and I think I mentioned that I was going to try implement something known as shadow mapping. And this is something different to what they call shadow mapping. These are actually planar shadows, so I'm just rendering shadows to one particular surface, so this one here. But it does the trick for now, so you can see you're essentially rendering a new object which is black and is transparent. But yeah, they work quite nicely. See that I can also jump, so that makes it slightly more exciting to move around my game. Whereas actually one of the main reasons I added it, it gets a little boring just running around without being able to jump. What else is new? So we've got, obviously these are new, but I'll get to them in a moment. We've got some basic collision detection. So for example, I can jump up on these cuboids, and if I time it right, I can't move through this. And if I time it right, I should be able to, I've been practicing this, so I should be able to jump onto this object here. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so basic collision detection. I've only got collision detection on these objects at the moment. They're quite simple. You just define, essentially define the shape as a volume, and you play with the coordinates to make sure that you can't pass through that volume. And then these guys here. So these are external models that I found for free online. So that's just a tortoise, and there's a chap from Adventure Time. And yeah, so I was just making sure that I could bring in external models into the game. It was quite a struggle. It took me a little while to get it right. So I'm in terms of reading files into my programs, I'm far more familiar with Python. So it took a little while. It's some of the differences between an interpreter and a compiler suddenly came up with regard to how you define arrays. But we got there in the end, and actually, I'll just show on the screen now a couple of failed attempts. But yeah, so basically now I'm in a position where I'm kind of ready to start developing this into a proper game. I did consider sort of playing around further with features of DirectX. So I've been torn between the idea of sort of wrapping this up earlier and producing a polished game, which is obviously maybe better for my learning to go through the entire cycle, finish something up, and then keep making new ones. So I'm revisiting the same process, versus just continuing to try and build a world out of this one. Advance my knowledge of DirectX. And I think what I am going to do is look to make a smaller game. And yeah, and so I think I've pretty much got everything I need. As I said, these shadows are quite basic. This is just planar shadows, and it's not shadow mapping. But my approach to things is, these are fine for what I need. If I come across a scenario, these shadows look okay. If I come across a scenario where having better shadows, where it's not just rendering to a plane. If that becomes important, I'll implement it. But this is fine for now. And yeah, so as I said, I need to start wrapping it up. There's no point me doing extra playing around at this moment because it's just going to be more work, so I'm doing it later. So yeah, I think that's the main thing for now. I've got general pieces of everything. I don't have any collision detection for these external objects at the moment. I mean, obviously these objects won't be hanging about, but it's a case of whether I keep going for something simple, where I just define a simple cuboid volume around them, or whether I need something a bit more advanced. But yeah, so that's it. As I said, the next steps are to actually start turning it into a working game. So I'm going to have to sit around and you know, start actually planning how this is going to work. I mean, I've got a couple things in mind, and you know, I can actually start making the 3D models for them before I really iron out all the mechanics. That's another thing in itself, actually. So I'm going to be trying to make most of my own 3D models. So certainly these I didn't make myself, but I just brought them in as they are for testing. To essentially make sure I could read them in. So yeah, that's going to be a whole learning curve in itself, but I'm not going to go through exactly what kind of thing I'm going for at this stage, because knowing me, I could change my mind, you know, tomorrow and start taking it in another direction. You know, I'm just going to see how things go, take them as they come, and we should sort of see this develop into a more solid plan as we go. Yeah, okay. I think that's basically it for this video. So thanks for watching, and hope to see you in future videos. Thank you.